Podcast. I'm Conlon.
And I'm Nathan.
We have another very special episode. We have the 2022 movie Nope. Nathan, do you have a history with Nope?
I watched this at home
Okay.
on because I think this COVID was still going on when this came out.
This was the second movie I saw in theaters after COVID. I believe the first was Fast 9, and then I saw this.
Yeah, this is one I just paid like $20 to watch at home
Yeah.
because it was new and I wanted to see it. Me and Stacy watched it, and yeah, I remember. I think it was one of the first actual movies I watched on my big TV.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Actually shot as a movie. It wasn't just like a TV, like a TV series or something. So
Yeah.
that was cool.
I guess not to give it away, but this might be one of my top films of all time. Um, that's easy to say for movies from like my younger years and 20s and stuff like that when you're just latch on to things. So as
Yeah,
an adult, I don't really do that. But this movie, like, I got that feeling again. It's like, oh man, this is awesome.
yeah.
I'm really glad I saw it in theaters. So it was like me and three people. It's like, you don't know what you're missing. This is brilliant. Um, but yeah, it came out July 22nd, 2022. I think I saw it maybe opening weekend. I'm not sure. Director's Jordan Peele. So again, this is our second time doing one of his movies. We did Get Out, and I never saw Us, which I think when we did Get Out, I kept calling it This Is Us, which is a TV show. But I think I
Yeah,
saw, I think I saw a Red Letter Media review of Us because I didn't get that great of reviews, but I think it was like well executed or it was a good production, but just the ideas were too wild. It was too much like a long Twilight Zone episode that carried on too long and was too ridiculous of a premise. So,
it was a weird premise.
okay.
When they get into it, it's like that's nightmarish.
So like that's my only dealing with that. I was gonna watch this for that, but then I totally forgot that I had to watch the movie for today, and so yeah, so it was around 10 o'clock. It's like, oh yeah, I get time. I'll be finished by noon, and I end up fucking around for like another hour, and so I start watching it at 11 o'clock. I get halfway through. It's like, well, I better go to bed. So I go to
Yeah.
bed. I go to bed, fall asleep at 12:30. I wake up at 4 a.m. I'm like, that's too early. I try to get back to bed, but I'm like so alert and have energy that I'm like, there's no way I'm getting back to bed. So I got up and watched the second half. So, and I'm still here now. So,
Yeah, you made it. You're
haven't
awake.
crashed. So those the cold showers before and the ice cold water and then cold shower before going to bed and after waking up are doing miraculous things. So,
That is, I've never heard of that. That's a good idea, though.
well, it's like, I mean, I think it does similar stuff to like cold plunges and like also sauna stuff does the same thing. I know Joe Rogan always talks about heat shock proteins, which I believe are a real thing. Um,
Okay.
but like cold will do the same thing. So maybe they should just be called shock proteins. I'm not sure. And so both saunas are really expensive. A cold plunge is still expensive. So this is like the drinking the cold water, ice cold water, and then getting a cold shower basically tricks your body into the same thing and it's just way cheaper.
Okay.
So it's like your body's going, well, we're cold on the inside and now we're cold on the outside. Let's start fucking churning everything on. So, uh,
How cold is the cold shower you take?
I mean, it's whatever groundwater temp is. So
Oh, okay. You don't need to add any hot into it at all.
no, I just put it on whatever the lowest. I just have one thing where you can turn it. The start of it's cold and the end of it's hot. So
Okay.
so I just have it where the stream goes a bit farther, but it's on the cold end.
Okay.
Um, I mean, it's all like I mean, I've done this like for years. Um, I used to just do it in the morning, but like because like the at night one just seems like too much of a hassle, especially if you're like tired. Like I want to go to bed, not take a cold shower and be awake for sleeping.
Yeah.
um, But yeah, like the first time I did it, like it was literally teeth chattering cold. Like you'll just come out shaking because you have to do it for at least 5 minutes. That's like kind of like the dose that the guy figured out.
Okay.
And so yeah, the ancillary benefit. Well, also you have to like focus it like on your back. So you know, like when you have like a wet T-shirt on and somebody slaps your back and you fucking like shake and like your shins shock through your body. So yeah, you're doing that, like essentially. um, there's smarter ways to do it where you can get into a cold shower, lather up, and then just gradually turn it cold. For some reason I've come to the conclusion that I need the jump in shock part of it.
Okay.
Just jumping it cold, which makes me not want to do it every time. But I don't have. So yeah, when I do it, like I don't have morning soreness. It feels like I took an Advil and an energy drink with room to do both if you need to for the rest of the day. Again, don't know exactly if this stuff is scientific or if it's just purely placebo effect, but a placebo effect still in effect. So if you believe it will work.
It manifests. So.
um, so yeah, I got 3.5 hours of sleep last night. I'm fine. So it's weird. Yeah, there's one. Yeah, it was like 3 weeks ago. I got 1 hour of sleep. Because I was just working all night and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I had to go somewhere at 9, so I went to bed at 8 and woke up at 9. And I was like, man, I should be crashing all day. And all that happened to me is I felt kind of sore. That was about it. I didn't crash or fall asleep randomly. Didn't have a dangerous car ride or anything like that. So
Well, that's good. Yeah, you missed all the big pitfalls of that.
yeah. Oh yeah, so yeah, I woke up and watched the other half of this movie, so which sometimes I do, so because I just like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to watch the movie today. It's like fuck, because the week was weird because it's like we did a podcast Wednesday, and then I went back to work, Thursday, and then it was out of sync. Where it's like, all right, tonight's podcast night. So yeah, director of Nope is Jordan Peele. Cinematographer is Hoyt van Hoytema, who also did Tenet and like Interstellar. He's like the new cinematographer for Christopher Nolan.
Okay.
So he's a great director of photography.
I remembered that name.
This is written by Jordan Peele. Stars Daniel Kaluuya, who was the lead in Get Out, Kiki Palmer, and Brandon Pereira, and some other people. We'll get to some. I mean, really isn't a famous cast at all.
No, not really.
It's weird that like Daniel Kaluuya only really stars in Jordan Peele's movies. It's like I feel like he should like be a leading man in more movies, but you said he's like British, so he might have like a different work schedule than most people. So
Yeah, it's always weird. Those guys are British. You're watching like stuff from the movie, like interviews. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, why is he doing a British accent?
Is he preparing for a role? So yeah, I can't think of too much about. I don't remember off my head like production stuff that we can preface this with, other than like it had a cool trailer that immediately led you to believe that this is an alien abduction movie, and it's not necessarily not that, but it's also not that. So
Well, we'll find out later how much Steven Spielberg influenced this movie. It's like, oh, they shot a trailer from like We Love Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and we want to, because this would actually be that also, just in a very different way. But yeah, that was kind of funny when you realize like, oh yeah, because that was made to look like that. Let's see, production wise, is the only horror movie shot in IMAX.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, that's what it said. It's one of the like unique things about it.
Yeah.
This movie was also a love letter to cinematography and filming a movie.
Yes. That's the other thing I really love about it is basically it's like people with like low rent. Well, actually not low rent, but like amateur photography and filmmaking like is a part of this movie. Like we got some friends, we're doing this thing, like we don't know if it's gonna work out.
Yeah.
But we're braving the way. So that's probably one of the things I like really was attracted to this movie. It's like it reminded me of that stuff. And just the ingenuity and like I said before this, it's you can at its base level you can just take this like a Tremors from the sky, like it's just a fun horror movie, but there's so much more depth you can pull out. You can go full Verhoeven Effect with this if you want.
Oh yeah.
But especially with how the movie opens, it's like it's leading you to like what does this have to do with the rest of the movie? And then
because the movie opens with a quote from the Old Testament, like one of the more obscure books of the Old Testament, Nahum.
Yeah.
3, chapter 6, I will cast abominable filth upon you and make you vile and make you a spectacle.
Yeah.
Which is like, if you read the whole quote, I forget. I think it's a book in the Old Testament. It's like 4 pages long or something.
Yeah, it's in the Bible. So
yeah. It's why the Babylonians are destroying the Assyrians and why God is punishing them.
But yeah, I didn't. When I was looking it up, it was like, oh, this is the Bible. I don't remember Nahum or Nahum as being a thing that wrote. That wasn't one of the things we were made to memorize. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the Ecclesiastes or whatever.
Well, most of the sexiest book in the Bible, I think, is no. Which one is it? Deuteronomy? That's where it's like got all the weird stuff in it. About people having sex with animals and stuff like that, and it's this weird, crazy stuff like that.
Is that where they have where angels are basically feathers and eyes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that comes from the Old Testament is just basically the story of the Jewish people.
Yeah.
The New Testament is like the story of Jesus.
Yep.
And we mostly focus on the New Testament because the Old Testament is weird. No, it's Leviticus. I'm sorry, it's the book of Leviticus that has all the weird stuff in it.
Oh, okay.
Rules about, you can't shave, you can't wear cloth that isn't the same kind, you can't eat shellfish or pigs there's all kinds of stuff. There's an interesting book called Living the Book where this guy's like, I'm going to follow all the rules in the Bible in the 21st century, and it's like he almost couldn't. Such a weird life.
Yeah.
And this is as a Christian, let alone get into the old Jewish laws and stuff. It's like, I'm just going to read the Old Testament, the New Testament, and follow all the rules. It's like, no.
Yeah, there's always like that weird, like the Orthodox Jews have to follow like heavy rules, but they're still like, I'm a scientist. I was like, how does that work? And it's like, well, it's like the Jewish religion is actually more accepting of like expanding your knowledge and stuff like that, so rather than Christianity.
I've always understood Judaism as like a contract with God.
Yeah.
Just full of clauses. Complicated one-way negotiation with God. It's like, it says we can do this. That's what that whole goofy thing about committing sin through a hole in the blanket.
Yeah.
Is actually a lot of stuff like that. If you interpret it that way, you could do that.
So we open up. We got Act 1. We open up on the Universal logo with audio from a sitcom playing over it. It's Gordy's birthday, an ape, or no, chimpanzee.
Chimpanzee.
And then you start hearing violence. Then we get the titles: "I will cast abominable filth at you, make you vile, make you a spectacle." Nahum 3:6. Then we open on a dead body, some heavy breathing, and some smashing. Gordy the ape is covered in blood and poking the dead body. Well, I guess actually she's not dead, but she's very incapacitated. So, Gordy looks towards the camera and spots something, and then we just cut out. So you're like, what the fuck is this? Isn't this movie about like alien abduction? What does this have to do with an ape? So, cut to a farmhouse in a valley in California. I don't know where this place is supposed to be. Like, it seems like it's a drive to LA, so it must be just outside LA. So,
there is a name for Aguila Dulce, California.
Okay.
It is in Los Angeles County.
Okay. Huh.
So you could drive there.
We get O.J. Hayward, played by Daniel Kaluuya. He's feeding horses at dusk. The horses run around a pen and get a shower, which like I've never seen that before. So I guess it's just interesting detail, just showing the day to day.
Yeah,
Then they get put on like a merry-go-round thing, which is kind of funny. So.
I've seen those. Yeah, that's the way to run them.
Okay, all right.
Because they'll atrophy pretty quick if you don't keep, because they're just designed to run around.
Yeah.
If you keep them in a pen all the time, they're not going to do very well.
Let me see. So. Otis Hayward Sr., played by Keith David. He's training a horse, making it like sit down and stuff like that. So this is like old school, like, use these for westerns and stuff, but they still get used today. So,
I actually, because I rewatched this like a couple hours ago, I actually thought he was in the movie more than he was.
Oh yeah.
One actor is like, that's Keith David. I know that guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, I thought he was in this a lot more, but he wasn't. Because I know him from The Thing, Platoon, The Quick and the Dead, Armageddon. There's a few other movies I think of him.
Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah, I've watched that exactly once, and that was times. Not because of the Keith David performance, just because drug addiction really does suck. And it makes you into a monster. But yeah, when I was thinking Keith David, I mainly think of The Thing. That's like
I mean, he does come back in a flashback like later on in the movie, but yeah, he's.
I thought I remembered the movie, and he's like, yeah, he's in this for half the movie. No, it's not, but it's like he cast that big of a shadow, I guess.
This is the inciting incident.
Yeah.
Otis is sitting on a horse. Suddenly, power and like the signals on his phone disappear, which I kind of like that he just has like a flip open phone, implying that he's just not into technology. He doesn't need it, so he just has like the least technology possible. So.
I actually respect that.
Yeah.
I don't have a flip phone, but that's because they got rid of iPods. So I was like, okay.
I technically have a flip phone now, so
yeah, it's the new kind.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Nathan is. Because he has like personality sometimes. Do you think he has like some sort of trauma or to why he's kind of very quiet, or do you think he's autistic in some way?
He just seemed to me like a guy who's like, because he was definitely in the shadow of his father in a lot of ways, and I think he felt like, I can't be him. He seems recalcitrant to deal with other people, but I think to me he seems like a guy who wants to consider a lot of things.
Yeah.
He doesn't react immediately. He does react to things, but he's always measured in his response.
Yeah.
So for me, he seemed like a very thoughtful person in a world where everyone's jabbering at him and it's just driving him nuts.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I got out of that. Now, maybe some people might consider that autistic. I just considered him like a guy who's.
Well, there's because there is a thing with autistic people where they can't look people in the eyes, but here that's also a defense mechanism for training horses.
That's a deficiency. Then in this case, it's a good one. Don't make eye contact with. The only animals I know you can make eye contact with is a dog that trusts you. Like my dog will get up in my face and lick my face and just stare into my eyes.
Yeah.
But you don't do that with a dog you don't know, because they're just going to attack you because they think you're going to threaten them or something. Because I don't know why animals see direct eye contact. Because even wolves have a thing they don't look each other directly in the eyes. Because I don't know. Maybe it's kind of like why we shake hands and we hold our hands out a lot. It's like we're not holding weapons in these.
Yeah.
So if you don't have hands, I guess it's eye contact.
So yeah, there's suddenly the power goes out, and there's screaming from the sky, and then stuff just starts pelting the ground from the sky, like coins, keys, just stuff.
Yeah.
We see Otis is slunk over, and the horse moves, and then he just falls off the horse. OJ runs to him. Then we cut to OJ's driving Otis to the hospital. He has a head wound, and he's trying to keep him awake. Which I didn't remember him still being awake after this. I thought he was just immediately dead. It's this makes it even more awful. So, and then we just cut to he lays dead on a gurney. Cut to an X-ray with a coin in his eye socket, and then we cut to the coin with blood on it and a sack, and so it's a coin falling from the sky killed him. And this is all just done in pictures, no talking whatsoever. Then we cut to OJ's back at the ranch and he sees like a key stuck in a horse. So it's like, which I don't know, Nathan, take crack at the symbolism there.
I did. So some of this stuff is just done to like it all ties together. Some of it is a weird has just a weird wow factor.
Yeah.
It like almost sends you up a blind alley. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, what does it symbolize? It's like, well, things like when you fire a gun up in the sky and then the bullet comes back down. It's like it could be nothing more than that.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know if there's like something with like horses or like the outdated transportation and now it has a key in it, so you need to start the horse with a key or some shit like that. There's also the shoe that's perfectly standing still, impossibly standing still which is just there.
Now that's something we can get into later, but
okay, I didn't have a thing for that other than it's like a weird thing I didn't recognize till they went back to that scene.
well, in the dialogue in this movie, they talk about bad miracles.
Yes.
And bad miracles are like false gods or like false deities. It's like don't follow the path that leads you on. Because the shoe standing up is when something horrible happens. It's like, well, nothing good can come from that, and it's a false idol to follow it because like the Bible quote from the beginning of the movie is always about everything's about being a spectacle.
Yeah.
And making something into a spectacle and doing something with it. So you have like false miracles and stuff all throughout the movie. You have things like the shoe is the most obvious one, but that's supposed to be like that's like a false thing, a false god, or what's because
what is? I mean, wouldn't a bad miracle just be a bad omen?
No, it has something to do with like in the Old Testament they talk a lot about fall, and I'm guessing this is where some of these ideas come from. Because in the Old Testament they talk about false prophets a lot.
Yeah.
Because everyone is always vying to be the prophet of the Lord. And it does say like the people that burn in the darkest parts of hell next to Satan are the people who twist God's words for their own gains, the false prophets. So yeah, any kind of like omen or symbol that's based from evil, it's like, yeah, you're following evil. You know, evil begets evil. So you've got to watch out for like the true miracles and the worthless miracles. The bad miracles, as they call them here.
Then we cut to credits that roll over a weird translucent tunnel with ominous music and building screams and sounds. And like I'm pretty sure all this stuff is just plastic sheets in a black room, and it's super simple and incredibly effective. Because this feels both like a cheap independent movie and like also just a movie wielded with unlimited budget and talent. So
you could look at it like, which Doctor Who series is this the intro to? I don't remember the season. Because Doctor Who's always going down a tunnel in the intro.
Yeah. Then we cut to there's a moving picture. Well, yeah, like the camera like pushes in through the tunnel, and it's like the tunnel ends in like a square, which I'm not sure if that's important. It looks like something later on, so it makes sort of sense. And then we see a moving
camera lens,
but they're not square.
But the have you ever seen like the lens, like the reflection on the like those start to square off as they get closer?
Oh, okay, yeah, I guess, yeah.
Because the shutter kind of closes.
Because it has to put a square image on a square film.
Yeah.
So okay. Then we see a moving picture of a black man riding a horse is shown, and then we cut to a green screen with a horse, and OJ tells an assistant to not look the horse in the eye. The producers aren't happy that they're working with OJ because they thought they were going to be working with his father. And he's like, and then the guy's like, yeah, he died 6 months ago, dude.
Which is really sad because OJ hears all this.
Yes, yeah.
It's not like this is being whispered behind his back. Like he hears these people saying this. He's just kind of like,
and he's shrugging it off, but he's still wounded by it. So.
Yeah, that'd be shitty for someone that we didn't want him here. It's like, oh, the guy he cared about the most, he died, so we get this guy. Just make you feel good.
OJ's not very communicable. He's quiet. We also we're introduced here to the cinematographer, or is he a director? I'm not sure. Antlers Holst, played by Michael Wincott, Who at first I thought this was Mike Judge for some reason. I was like, oh wait, no. Is he this like the bad guy in either the first Crow or the second Crow?
I think he's the bad guy in the first Crow.
Okay.
The good one.
The one good one.
The first good one. So I think Michael Wincott delivers one of my favorite lines in all of cinema.
Okay.
Because, he's the leader. He's called Top Dollar, and I forget what the other guy's name was. Hold on. What was the guy's name that got killed? I forget. One of his gang members died. He's like, okay, let's have a retrospective moment of silence for Skank or whoever. I'm not sure. And everyone is like, man, that's kind of hard. And he's like, he was a scumbag. Because Michael Wincott has great, like, the way he delivers dialogue is crazy.
Well, he's got like a crazy smoker voice, so
yeah. It's like if Tom Waits just fully acted all the time. It's same thing.
But yeah, he hangs on every word and then like chews it with gravel. So it's like everything he says seems important. So which you see his talent when he starts reciting the lyrics to the song we'll get to. It's like, on paper that's fucking stupid, but with good acting it makes sense. And then Emerald Haywood shows up, played by Keke Palmer. This is OJ's sister. She busts in and she starts to perform her part. So this is like the part that usually that Otis Senior or Junior would say. She's much more gregarious and likable. Emerald delivers the history of the family and the safety briefing. So she's talking about like the first moving picture ever captured was a black man riding a horse, and she suggests like we don't know who that person is, but we do. It's our family. And then like she says that's my great grandfather, and then like Otis or OJ says one more great because one idle fact I picked up on is that the reason she misses a great is because she's just directly reciting the things her dad would say, so she forgot to add another great.
Oh, okay. Pointed out though that the main character's name is OJ, or his nickname is OJ, which is kind of weird, jarring at first.
Yeah,
it's like okay.
Well, because they have the white lady walks up like, "What's your name?" He's like OJ, and she's like, "Oh," so she's like, "It's because OJ is very specific meaning to when you're interacting with white and black people." So
yeah.
Well, you even get the part where they say "Run, OJ, run."
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that was that. No, maybe I'm just thinking "Run, Forrest, Run." But O.J. Simpson was a running back, so I don't know.
There was all kinds of funny. The juice is loose.
Yeah.
All that stuff got translated over to the low-speed chase with the Los Angeles Police Department. Driving one of the most gas-guzzling vehicles ever. Late Generation 7 Bronco, full-size Bronco. Full-time four-wheel drive Bronco. I think it got 7 miles to the gallon. It's like, if you got in a high-speed chase in that, you'd be out of gas in 100 miles.
Well, I remember there was like, wasn't there some weird trivia where like the Bronco was actually like kind of going down in sales at that point, and people would think that killed the Bronco, but it actually like increased like demand for it.
People worked at the plant. They said all of a sudden, because they were telling them, next year we're phasing out the Bronco, we're going to another thing, and they said all of a sudden this thing they were phasing out, they couldn't make them fast enough. On a white one. And they were expensive vehicles back then, even. I mean, they were expensive to own and operate. And they were. It was funny. I remember talking to the guys. It's like they're all talking about like, I made $100,000 in the mid '90s thanks to OJ Simpson. Working 7 days a week.
Some lighting guy comes up and holds a mirror ball up to the horse, which then, because the horse is then looking itself in the eyes and gets scared, and like it kicks a bag that someone's holding. Which again, OJ keeps warning people, don't stand behind the horse. Which that's rules for life. Don't do that. So.
You know that. It's like the horse because it can't see behind it, and I'm just gonna kick whatever's trying to kill me back there because that's what horses think.
But you also get like to see like the danger of like movie production where it's like people who don't know things being commanded by people above them who don't know things.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah, go stand next to the horse, and he's like, don't stand next to the horses, and they're like, well, he's the director. This is just some animal wrangler, and then all of a sudden you're dead. So,
Yeah.
Now imagine that with a helicopter.
Yeah.
Then we cut to like OJ has a talk with like one of the producers who's like sympathetic with OJ, but essentially they just lost the gig, so now it's like extra sad because what also he suggests is that like that he hasn't worked in a while because of his dad's death, and so this is kind of like the first job back, and so like they're basically like 6 months in the hole on making money, so it's like everything's kind of falling apart right now.
And they're living in Southern California, right outside of Los Angeles. That's probably horribly expensive to live there.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it's expensive to live in the cowboy parts of California. It seemed pretty desolate. I'm sure it's expensive to get energy ran out there.
Yeah.
Cowboy California is wild when you realize, like, once you get outside the big cities, it's like, yeah, it's just cowboys. Stuff like that, you know. There's a lot of deserts, a lot of, scrub houses. It's like, wow.
So yeah, they drive through the hills of California. They stop at some tourist spot called Jupiter's Claim, which I've tried to. I might make a mistake. For some reason, I wrote this down as Juniper's Folly. I don't know if that's a thing or what that means, but I tried to fix it here. So if I say the wrong thing, that's what happened. I made something. We see the flash photography well, which is a neat thing that will come into play later on. Very, 101 filmmaking. Introduce a thing, use it later on. OJ's selling 10 horses to Jupiter's Claim. He plans on getting the horses back, but we basically all know, like, nah, that's not going to happen. So. OJ meets with Ricky Jupe Park, played by Stephen Wynn, who most notable for the Walking Dead series and has had like a pretty like extensive and weird career. He's done a lot of stuff. So it's not the, and this is maybe the most unexpected role for him. Like, I'm a cowboy child actor, like turned to like a tourist traps in California. So
he's a Michigan guy too. Well, I mean, originally from Korea, but came here very young.
Okay.
Graduated from Kalamazoo with a degree in neuroscience and got into acting.
Okay.
Because that's what Koreans do. It's like, well, go get the education and then follow the crazy.
Okay,
training.
so just like Jewish people.
Yeah. Be a doctor, but they cut funny people on TV.
Why'd you become a doctor and then an actor? It's like, well, I became a doctor because my parents wanted me to, and I got into acting because I wanted to. So. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, OJ meets with Ricky Jupe Park. Ricky was a child actor in a show called Kid Sheriff, but then he was also in the show that is featured in the beginning, the Gordy's House kids show. Yeah. We see a Mad Magazine depiction of Gordy's birthday party, where he went mad and killed everybody.
Yeah, but it was like Alfred E. Newman.
Yeah.
It's like, this is funny, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess that was kind of the thing in the 90s to like, oh, this is a horrible incident. Let's make fun of it. So,
yeah.
Because there wasn't really like
culture.
Well, there wasn't really like horrible wars going on in the 90s, so you just kind of had to like, these little catastrophes that happened, just caught people's imagination. You had to like run the full gamut with it. So it's like, let's consider the feelings and then let's just make fun of it. So yeah, Gordy's home is a show from the opening. Ricky shows off a hidden room that's just full of Gordy's home memorabilia, which he says like, this is like an extra like tip, like you have to give him to show it off. But he's like, I'm going to talk about this. He starts to talk about like Gordy Chimp going crazy. He also talks about an SNL skit, which he described in like a way that's like incredibly believable, especially with like the Chris Kattan played a weird monkey character called like Mango or something. Or was Mango? I think Mango was a gay character. He had some weird monkey character. Like
I think that was Mango.
no, there's like another one's like Mr. Peebles or something like that. I think that.
Oh, is that where he have the fruit and it would just
Yes,
explode?
yes.
Okay.
um, it's like as he's talking about, he's describing it like this loving way, like yeah, they did such a great job, like and then like as he's describing it, he has a flashback to the incident, and you realize like he's just lying to himself out loud that this didn't affect him. It was just like just a weird thing in his background, but it's like no, it deeply affected him. So, to his detriment.
Yeah.
That encounter will be what will kill him later on.
Yeah, it's like I can handle anything.
We cut to OJ and Emerald are at the ranch. He mentions Jupe offered to buy the ranch, like all of it. And then we have OJ and Emerald hanging out in the house, and they like are starting to like remember stuff about their dad while drinking all his whiskey and smoking weed, I think. So, Emerald talks about fucking her. He's like, I learned from my therapist. He's like, you go to therapy. He's like, well, I fuck one. Like,
Yeah.
So,
I just like that.
and she's like, and she told me it's like, and then she's like talking about a horse named Jean Jacket, which I forget everything about the original, other than she thought that was her horse, and then it got like sold off or something like that. What's the history with the
I
original
thought
Jean Jacket?
her dad, she was supposed to train the horse and she failed to,
Oh, okay,
and he sold it off.
okay.
That's what as I remember it.
Okay, that missed. Um, what's that?
It could be true.
Okay.
I think that's what I remember.
Um, I mean, we also OJ kind of reminiscing that like this ranch has been in their family for a long time, and he can't let the ranch go, so he has to figure something out. And then Emerald says, "Why is Ghost in the arena?" Which is a great line that means nothing immediately. So, and then we cut to titles: Ghost. OJ goes outside where Ghost, the horse, is standing in the pen, or one of the outdoor pens. I'm not sure if that's a pen or what you call that. Just it's a gated place.
Yeah.
OJ stands next to the horse. There's like a faint screams in the sky. Emerald starts playing some R&B loudly. Then Ghost jumps the pin and runs away. OJ gets a is this a side by side? Is that what those things are called? The kind of like kind of off-road go-kart thing he's driving here.
Oh yeah, I forget what those are like those John Deere
Like Gators or whatever.
Yeah, there's more advanced versions of them. They're like $17,000.
Oh yeah, they're side.
Yeah, I forget what they're called.
I thought they were called side by sides. Let me.
Yeah, it looks like a golf cart, but they like have off-road ability.
Yes, they're called side by sides. I don't know why they're called that. If you say side by side, I wouldn't think of this vehicle. So,
well, because essentially, I think they're like a four-wheeler with just a cab built onto it.
Yeah.
It has like steering controls versus hand throttle controls. They're supposed to be safer. I never got that. It's like, well, that thing can go so fast, and there's structure around it. You're just dead.
But 4x4s, and that's also way safer than the three wheelers. Those were death traps.
Oh yeah, those were the triangles of death. Really fast. No. Yeah.
Didn't you screw up a shoulder on one of those, or you just know somebody who screwed themselves up?
No, I just screwed them up. Mom and Dad wouldn't allow it.
Okay.
I know that because another thing about those, when those came out in the 80s, they had big balloon tires on them, and they looked like a kid's toy.
Yeah.
People bought their kids these things, and they just decapitated themselves with them. Turn too sharply. It's like, well, we've only got one turning wheel and two drive wheels, so guess what happens? So yeah, that's why they outlawed them. But yeah, when they had the big balloon tires, like they were great for on the beach or things that seemed impassable. It's like those big tires would just spread out, and you could. It's like, oh, I can get traction. It was fun. Four wheelers don't have the balloony tires either. I think the balloony tires also got outlawed.
Okay.
because people were just dying all over
OJ sees there's lights off in the distance at Jupiter's claim. Then the lights fade out, but then they turn back on. We also hear Jupe giving like a speech of some kind, so there's like some performance going on. There's screams in the skies again. The power goes out at the ranch, then comes back. OJ observes the power going out. Then he spots an object in the sky, and it disappears in the clouds. Which I can't remember if this is the first time he just goes nope and walks away, or that happens a lot in this movie. So then OJ and Emerald go over security footage, but the camera stops when the power went out, so they can't see anything. And this is where they like stand on the porch, and he goes, "What's a bad miracle?" Like they got a word for that. So great line. So he talks about how he saw something big. It was fast, but he didn't know what it looked like, and too quiet to be a plane. So he's immediately suspicious of like what this thing in the sky is. So, which we do see the figure, and it does cast a figure of a flying saucer. So that's your immediate thought about what's going on here. So that being the Act 1, we got Act 2. OJ and Emerald are planning out on catching a video of the UFO and sell it. They thought, we're gonna get the shot, and then they get all these like security camera stuff, and they check out with Angel, who's like a bored tech at Fry's.
Yeah.
Which I've never been to a Fry's. Is that like purely California? It's like, I think it's still around.
No, they got liquidated because of COVID.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah.
But there was only 30 of them open when they liquidated. So yeah, they were probably just on the West Coast at that point.
Okay. Then we cut to also the guy says like, "Do you want it installed?" And they're like, "No." Like, "Do you want a credit card with us?" Like, "No." And so, but like when they say, "Do you want to install?" He's like, she's like, "No." And then he's like, "Is it gonna be hard?" And he's like, "Well, for me, no." And then so it seems like they're just not gonna get him. And then we cut to Angels at their house, like ready to set up the surveillance thing. And we have Angel like screaming and lamenting stuff about his ex-girlfriend, which is just weird and out of nowhere. It's like, because apparently she got a job at the CW and left him or something like that. So, then we cut to they're testing out the 360 I remember tracking cameras, but they have a little thing they can be controlled. Are they only controlled, or do you think they self-track as well? Do they track movement?
I'm not sure how cameras like that work, actually.
Okay.
I don't know if they're triggered by motion and then follow it, or if they're just constantly pan and scan. I don't know.
Okay. They talk about how like UFOs are now called UAPs, which they don't unfurl that acronym, but I believe that it's unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Yeah.
Okay. Which has been popping up a lot of it lately. So
yeah, it's it's a thing, and it causes a lot of excitement. It's like, we're about to have disclosure. No.
Then Emerald drives up in the truck in the horse trailer. She has a decoy horse to set up. Jupiter shows up, and so like Emerald's kind of freaking out because she stole this from Jupiter. And then and then like they have this clever thing where they're just like, "Yeah, stay back there," and they're like, "Hey, where'd you get yours?" And then he just like, "I'll leave it, whatever." So I'm gonna own this place in 10 days anyway. So, and then Jupe invites them to a new show he's got, and the like kind of holds up a flyer, and it flies out of his hand. They basically just ignore it. Then we cut to titles. Clover. OJ makes a mirror ball for some reason, and is this ever used in the movie?
I don't recall if it ever was.
Okay.
I don't remember that.
Okay, so yeah.
If it is, it's something I missed.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's any deep symbolism here. He basically has this mirror ball thing. He puts a plunger on it and just kind of tapes it to the plunger. So, and then he just kind of looks at it. He hears a sound from the stables. He investigates. The sprinklers were turned on. He turns out the lights and the sprinklers, but then they turn back on. And then he sees a figure off in the distance, which is like incredibly frightening in how they do this. Where it's just a dark figure that unfurls and then has eyes and looks like kind of like a standard like big-eyed alien, like a gray almost, but it's more black. Um, it stands and looks weird. Another one just like pops out like in a stall just before it, so it gives a good jump scare there. And that's when OJ just says nope and backs up around the corner, and he pulls out his camera to like take a picture of it, and like its head kind of pops around the corner. And another one just like hangs down from a rafters. He punches it, and you hear a kid scream, and that's realized it's all prank. So it's like, which is fantastic because this is all. This feels like this is all just built up for the misdirect of the trailer, because this in the trailer when they use this, it's basically confirming it's aliens when it's not, or something else, whatever. um, but yeah, but these are also like all of Jupe's kids, and so because Emerald stole the horse, I guess the kids are playing a prank on him. So that's how they pay for the horse, getting pranked. So, yeah, and it's a horse statue. It's not a real horse. I don't know if I clarified that. It's a horse, and it's got like what are those?
Yeah, it's like a decoy, artificial horse.
Yeah, and it's got like a what do you call that? A string of flags on it. That's kind of stuck to it.
Yeah, those advertising banners. Yeah.
We cut to Angel is hanging out at work while it closes, and he's like watching the video feed from the ranch. OJ is going to wrangle Clover, I guess. Emerald gets scared by a praying mantis crawling on a camera, which is another good little moment. Angel calls them. Angel calls them on the phone and says there's a bug on the camera, and then also camera B went down. So that's like, okay, the thing's here. As OJ wrangles the horse, the power grid goes out. The horse clips OJ and runs away. And then OJ watches a tornado from a cloud like grab the decoy horse. You hear all the horses going crazy. You see that there's a thing. It's in the cloud. There's a loud grumble sound. Fantastic sound in this movie. Absolutely A+ sound design in this movie.
Yeah, sound design in this movie is incredible.
We see the figure of the flying saucer fly amongst the clouds as OJ runs for cover, which I'm glad I saw this in theaters because I don't know if it was my bit rate, but like the streaming service could not handle this scene at all.
Oh, really?
It was basically a bunch of squares, and you can like I only because I've seen it before. I know, it's like, oh, you see the saucer in the clouds, but it was like just basically black squares moving. I'm sure if I downloaded it would have been fine. I could have done that, but because it was streaming, it suffered in this scene. The power goes out at the house. Oh wait, no. Oh, OJ runs for cover after he sees that. The power goes out in the house. Emerald climbs the roof to get the bug off the camera. She's throwing Sour Patch Kids at it.
Yeah.
OJ watches between the posts and the in a barn. He's like in a barn, and there's like gaps in the posts on the wall, and so he's watching. He's observing through that as like as he sees the horse being abducted by the saucer, like through like this tornado thing. Then we cut to OJ's watching the footage. Emerald wants to leave immediately. OJ is staying and like trying to study this thing. But yeah, like basically they didn't see anything because the mantis was on the camera lens. Then we have a quick flashback where OJ is setting up a saddle, and Otis talks about like some animals not fit to be trained. Then we cut to Emerald calls Antlers Holst. They sell him on the impossible shot, or they try to sell him on it. They want to get a shot of a saucer on film. Then we cut to Angel, Angel shows up. He goes and looks for. Yeah, this is like daytime. Angel shows up, and he just like walks past them and starts looking at something, and like, and then he goes, "Holy shit, it's real!" And they're just looking at him like, "You can leave." And then Angel shows them footage of a cloud that doesn't move, and so the saucer is using clouds as camouflage, or it emits clouds. I don't know. What do you think? It just emits clouds, Nathan, or is it somehow?
It seems to be controlling them somehow.
Okay.
It's either keeping them in the same place or it's something. It's an animal, so it's doing something with a cloud to keep it in place.
Yeah. So yeah, then they go look at the cloud, and OJ says like he may have been looking at the same cloud for the last 6 months because now it's like, oh, this is the thing that killed my dad. So um, OJ puts forth the idea that it's not an alien spaceship. He doesn't say it's like a life form or an animal just yet, but like because I've seen the movie, we know that's what's going on. So he suggests that like later on in the movie. Then we get cut to titles. Gordy. We are on the Gordy's House sitcom set while they're filming the birthday episode. Gordy. So yeah, they have like one part where like Kid Jupe like fucks up a line. He has to like take it over again and stuff like that. And then we get to the part where Gordy gets a box of balloons for his birthday. One of them pops, and that's when the rage begins. And then they kind of cut to a different part of the studio after everyone's like left the place after the carnage. We get titles says 1998. We see the set abandoned and out of view as Gordy beating a lady to death. But yeah, there's not a lot of gore in this movie, except for like, with Otis and the coin. Like that's kind of gory when you see that. And then a house doused in blood is technically gory, but it's not like as gory as it could be. So.
Right.
There's no body parts; it's just blood. Gordy beats up the lady and then eats her face. Again, you don't see this; it's just all implied by sound design. So it's up for your imagination of how horrible that is. I wrote she's presumably dead, but I know she shows up later on. The guy who played the dad tries to run away, but probably gets killed. We hear him like getting beaten to death off screen. And this is where you see the shoe that's standing up in an unlikely way, which is we've seen this shoe before I guess it was in the opening, but it's also in that secret room of the Gordy stuff. There's on display is this shoe standing up like that. Which I don't know. Did you want to elaborate on the shoe, Nathan, or is that just the bad miracle thing?
Yeah, it's the bad miracle.
Okay.
It's just something. It's something that happens that like, oh, this could mean something. It's like doesn't mean anything good.
We're back at the opening, and now we see Gordy is looking at a child Jupe who's under a table. The chimp comes up to the table and looking through the tablecloth offers him a fist bump, which I didn't understand this the first time around, but I read some trivia on it, so I didn't pick up on this. But because there's like a veil that Jupe can see through, but it obscures Jupe's eyes, so Gordy doesn't freak out when he sees him under the table because he's not exactly seeing. His eyes are obscured, which gives him an overconfidence for the rest of his life because he thinks somehow he can control like wild beasts when he doesn't understand that a tablecloth saved him. So, and then Gordy gets shot to death, and so yeah, it's like okay, that's trauma. And he gets blood on his face, So,
yeah, because what you hear is like you hear police radios suddenly.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden, like, because you think the monkey is just going to attack him, but no, it's actually it got shot.
Yeah,
and it flung sideways. So it's like, oh, okay. So actually a very frightening scene because it built tension very well.
Yeah, because you just see Jupe scared under the table, and then you've seen it just destroy people, and then like it comes up to him is like, oh, he's gonna kill him, and then he offers him the fist bump, which was the character thing because also in that room he says, "There's the first exploding fist bump," and that's what his character did.
Okay.
With the Gordy.
And that's also something from like the cultural zeitgeist because what wasn't there? Didn't a monkey go nuts and actually rip a lady's face off?
Oh yeah.
Years ago, and it was like, yeah, this is what they do, and
yeah, they just go for faces, testicles, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because there's like I think there's like some documentary about people like raising chimpanzees, and it's like the craziest thing that was like, because like the thing is like you can only I thought there's something extra sad about it, but it's like basically you can raise chimpanzees, but once they get to a certain like adult age, they're gonna get like some form of ape dementia and just like forget who you are and just rip you apart. So.
Yeah, they're just wild animals at the end. They're highly intelligent wild animals.
Yeah,
yeah, they'll eventually just act purely on emotion and rage and fear, and they're way stronger than you pound for pound.
Yeah, because they have
So,
different ligament structure that makes the power ratio more for their arms are designed.
yeah, they don't do things like this. They don't have any fine motor skills. Everything's a gross motor skill. That's why I mean, they can manipulate tools and use things, but you're never going to see them put Legos together and stuff. They also don't use language, so that makes them different too. So they're just all raw strength, and they're also brutal with each other. Eh? You ever seen like that? What was those documentaries like Kingdom of the Apes or whatever? It's like when chimpanzees go to war, they tear each other to
Yeah,
pieces. Like they're just like it's like ants. You know how when like a beetle gets in the ant hive and the ants all rip the beetle apart?
yeah.
Yeah, chimpanzees, same thing. They just rip their arms off,
Gotta let them
kill.
know.
Yeah,
Then we cut to it's Jupe. It's in current day. He's reminiscing. He's kind of lost in his thoughts, which is presumably he's thinking about this. And his wife takes his hand and kind of like centers him, and he starts saying, "What if I told you?" And then just cuts off, and it says, "Titles Lucky." Angels.
yeah. By the way, everything mentioned in the title cards, all the animals, all dies in the next scene.
Oh, I thought Lucky survives.
No, everything that comes. My understanding is, and I remember everything that comes up on the title card dies.
Cause Lucky's the one in the box, right?
Not sure.
Yeah, because Lucky's in the box, and when they come back to the place, Lucky's the only one there. Which, after OJ gets knocked out, he grabs Lucky and brings him back, and Lucky is the one he's riding at the end of the movie.
Okay, well maybe Lucky was the one who got lucky then. So I have a list here of all the title cards.
I could have misinterpreted. I just know I looked back, and Lucky is a brown horse, and he's riding a brown horse at the end of the movie. Does Lucky survive? And nope. This one says Lucky is left alive. The AI says no. OJ's horse Lucky survives in the 2022 movie. Nope.
I don't know. I thought everything mentioned in the title card. Oh no, yeah, Lucky doesn't die. It's the only thing that doesn't because he's lucky. Okay. But Jordan Peele had to come out and correct that because for a long time it was said everyone comes up in the title card, everything, all the animals mentioned die.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I thought I picked up on that Lucky survives. Although apparently I just read now it seemed like there's the ending's ambiguous as to whether OJ and Lucky survive or if that's just a vision. So I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, it could be.
I didn't think of that.
I mean, I do remember seeing them standing there at the end, but it's like, did she hallucinate that?
um, we see Angel's tarping up the cameras. OJ finds the flyer from Jupiter's that he left, and it depicts a horse being like pulled into the sky. So basically, he immediately knows, oh, that fucker's been feeding my horses to this fucking saucers. Without saying it. OJ leaves to go get Lucky. So yeah, we cut to this performance, which is kind of sad because it's like a quarter of the way filled for like a spectacle would be amazing if he's been doing. I have no idea how long he's been doing this. Presumably 6 months. I don't know.
Yeah, how long people could go missing like that and just be like, huh?
Well, the crowd's not being eaten every time, just the horse.
Yeah, I know, but you think word would get around?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Because the things that kill his father, those are from the missing hikers, right?
Oh, I didn't know there was a missing hiker thing. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, there's something on the radio about some hikers were missing in that area.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Because everything in this movie is explained. You just got to really pay attention to some of the background stuff.
Yeah,
because a lot of people were saying, "Oh, how many times has he been feeding the crowd to this thing, and why didn't he get eaten those times?" And people were like, "It only happened once, and he got killed." and it's because like where the things that hit his father come from is like the missing hikers, and then they reference the scene and the number of minutes into the movie. Oh, okay, somebody's watched this like 1,000 times. All right.
Oh yeah, this is definitely a movie I keep going back to. I've only seen it twice, and I still think it's one of my favorite movies. And there's like you can keep going back and finding stuff.
Yeah, it's one I own in my digital library. I don't have a physical copy of it, so when the EMP comes, I'll lose it.
We see Mary Jo Ellie is there. She's like the other kid actor who got her face ripped off or eaten off, and we see her disfigured face behind a veil.
Yeah.
They also see there's a green tarp over a box. Jupiter talks about a story of him chasing a horse and then seeing a UFO, and then Lucky is in the box is revealed. Jupiter describes that the same saucer, basically just describes the same saucer we've been seeing, but like with elaborate detail, like it had a hole the size of 2 buses and stuff like that. Which is also kind of funny because also like the saucer also resembles like almost like a cowboy hat too. So,
yes, it does.
And Jupiter has the cowboy hat, so, and a cowboy hat has a hole in the bottom. So, there's a shot from the clouds, and we see the flag streamers are hanging out because basically this saucer it's got the flag stuck in its throat, so now it gives it away. The cloud arrives earlier than expected because I guess this show is supposed to happen at night. So I guess it eats one at night maybe. It's like because we saw like when the power went out like earlier on, but I'm not sure if like it may ate a horse there, but it also ate the other horse. Like I think ate Ghost. So it got 2 horses that night. The power goes out and the sounds of the saucer like roll in. We see like just like the kind of this isn't the screaming yet, and then the saucer just starts sucking up all the people in the stands. So then we cut to the inside of the saucer. And we hear all the screaming. It's like intestines made of plastic. It's a very disconcerting scene. It's like, what is this thing?
And people are being pulled up almost. It's very weird.
Yeah, it creates a tornado vortex that just pulls things inside of it. And it's almost like people are being crushed by the plastic, but you're like, you're not sure how this thing works at all. So, but then that's you start realizing like whenever there's like screaming in the sky, it's like okay, there's people in there being, eaten or digested or whatever this thing does. So,
and if you pay attention to sound design, you don't know if they're screaming in pain or pleasure.
Okay.
Weird sound design on that, and they revisit it many times, so I know it was done on purpose.
Okay. OJ shows up at Jupiter's claim where the place is abandoned and slightly disheveled. And OJ sees a pig on the roof. He gets to the viewing stand. Lucky's still in the box, but all the people are gone. OJ moves to get Lucky, but spots the saucer and like lurking in the clouds, and then he kind of like hides under the stands. And he's like making like clicking sounds to try to get Lucky to come towards him. But he stays under the stands and keeps watch. The saucer moves up close and tries to suck OJ up, but then OJ is still undercover, but like it sucks him up a bit, but like knocks him against the ceiling and knocks him out and he falls down. But this is where you get like a direct close up of this thing where it's like, okay, this isn't a flying saucer. This is an animal of some sort. So
yeah. I guess Jordan Peele said the angels from Evangelion were kind of his.
Okay, that makes sense.
This because when they have the weird square that just overlaps and folds in on itself all the time, it's like, yeah, if you watch it at Evangelion, it's like, yeah, those are weird stuff like that. It's also the biblical. I don't know if you've seen like all the memes now about the biblical representation of angels, like we were talking about earlier, where it's all like eyes and feathers. Yeah, it's that kind of stuff too.
Then we cut to Angel leaves for the night from the ranch. We cut to OJ like wakes up and he has Lucky and is calling Emerald on his phone. He gets a hold of her, and then he says it's not a ship. It ate them. It's an animal. Then Angel's power goes out in his car. Was it playing like "I Wear Sunglasses at Night," that song or whatever?
Yeah. I wear my sunglasses. Yeah.
The power at the house goes out. Angel runs back inside. He grabs a knife, which is funny because he's like pointing the knife at her. It's like, we gotta hide. They hear the saucer approaching with screams, and then all of a sudden the screams stop, and then trash starts falling out of the sky. There's more keys, and then blood just starts raining down from this, and a thunderstorm erupts. It's like this is a crazy scene. And we see the saucer hovering over the house, and wringing out all of the blood of the people in here, which is like, it's like, is it eating or what's it doing? Is it just taking flesh and bone and rendering blood out? It also doesn't eat objects. It just kind of crushes it up and spits it out. So it's like, what's this thing need? Is it all skin it eats skin, and that's what this is all made of? It's just skin.
Well, I'll tell you, Jordan Peele, one of his favorite movies is The Shining.
Yeah.
And you remember that famous elevator scene in The Shining?
Yeah.
Just the elevator door opens and just like an elevator shaft of blood pours out. And it's like, what is it? It's just, it's like a weird dream / nightmare. I got vibes of that too in this. It's like, oh yeah, the house is just, it's like a blood storm.
The storm passes. OJ dares to crack a door to look up in the sky, and then it's just still hanging out there. It still has like kind of rain hanging off the side rather than blood. And then here's where he just goes, nope, and gets back in the car. The decoy horse gets dropped on his truck. Then he locks the door. It's like, it's not going to open the door, but it's just a funny little moment. It's like, I just need a little bit more safety. Lock the door. So, the power comes back on, and it's dusk. And like OJ wakes up and starts the car and gets moving. The streamer flags are hanging off the decoy horse. OJ is sneaking his way toward the house as he sees Angel and Emerald are arguing. OJ pops the door to the Fry van, and as Angel and Emerald like run to the van, and here we get like a little flashback about like OJ remembering not to look the animal in the eyes thing, and so here he just looks down as like the saucer's directly above them, and so that's where he like learns that it's like, okay, if you don't look at it, it won't eat you. So implying that this like hole in the bottom of it is like its eye and its mouth, like all this all in one.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of looks like a jellyfish if it was in the air. It like moves the same way too. It's like this, but it's doing it with air instead of water.
It also kind of looks like the Flight of the Navigator ship almost.
Yeah, it kind of does.
That's a morphing ship too. So
yeah.
The crew get in the Fry's car and leave, which is also weird because like the saucer's directly above it, but which would imply that the van wouldn't work, but they're able to drive out of there. So maybe it just had enough distance vertically that it wasn't affecting it or something.
Yeah, how the technology shuts off in this is sometimes inconsistent, or at least maybe there's something we're supposed to look for there that we missed.
So that being the Act 2. We got Act 3. The crew go to Angel's house. He's smoking weed with wearing VR goggles. OJ quietly contemplates. We cut to there's a news report about the mystery of the missing employees and park visitors at Jupiter's. Here we see Antlers Holst is editing like animal attack footage because that's like his thing is he can get like shots that nobody else can, so that's kind of like his bread and butter and what he's known for. But he's also like constantly seeking to outdo himself, and so as he's like editing the footage of like snake attacks and stuff like that, he's putting together that like what they were talking about, like this is what it is. It's some weird alien in the sky. He needs to get a picture, gets a photo of it. So, cut to the crew at the diner. Here's where like OJ says, "I don't think it eats you if you don't look it in the eye." He says every animal got rules. OJ's planning to get the shot and maybe stop the saucer. So that's maybe he wants to save the farm. So he knows like if we can get a shot of this thing, that'll be crazy money that we can save the farm with. But also, yeah, he's gonna have to eliminate the beast somehow because he knows you can't control a predator. So And then Emerald gets a text. Then we cut to at the ranch. Antlers shows up, and he's added to the crew. Antlers stares at the saucer cloud. Here we get like he's like asking about it, and OJ says it's gonna get hungry again. Just ring the dinner bell. OJ talks about the hubris of Jupe trying to tame a predator. They call the saucer Jean Jacket now, so that's the name for the saucer, which was Emerald's horse, or the one she was supposed to train. They get a map out and they start to make a plan to lure Jean Jacket out. Antlers brought a camera he made that's like hand crank, so it's non-electric, so it can get the shot and it's film. OJ is training his horse to ignore flags and the wacky wavy inflatable tube men. So, then they have a team dinner. Angel is trying to convince himself that what he's doing is good and worth it. It's like, yeah, this will save people, but really he just wants money. And then Antlers like weirdly lolls around the lyrics for Purple People Eater song and its parallels to the animal in this movie. It was a one-eyed, one-horn, flying purple people eater. Which this thing doesn't have a horn, but it does have one eye, and so it is eating people. Oh yeah, close enough. Yeah. Which again, like he delivers expertly, because otherwise this scene would be stupid. Then we cut to it's morning. It's the next day. OJ gets ready with Kevlar vest and some Scorpion King crew gear, because that's meant because that was they talk about at some point that was a movie they worked on where they end up not even using the horses. They switched to camels. So
yeah. Then
we cut to titles Jean Jacket. Angel and Antlers are set up under camouflage in the hills. Emerald plays some loud music. The tube men start inflating, which Angel had to steal a bunch of car batteries to get these all to work. Which I forgot what they're doing at first, but then I found out like, oh, they used the tube men to indicate where Jean Jacket's flying around because of the anti-electricity field or whatever. So when the tube men go down, it's like there's Jean Jacket's over there. OJ takes off unlucky. He rides down the dirt road in between the tube men. The tube men going down reveals the power loss. There's a reveal of a guy on an electric motorcycle. I thought he was a UFO chaser, but he ends up like Emerald talks to him. He's like a guy from TMZ. He's got like this mirror helmet with like one black hole that he can see through, or presumably he can see through the helmet as well. I'm not sure, but it's got the one eye, like the one little black circle on it.
Yeah, it looks like a what do they call it? A cyclops eye.
Yeah.
Voice of Nicolas Cage.
Okay, all right. So yeah, that guy takes off because he's like, there's the news report about like the missing people, so he thinks something's going on here, so he's off to look for whatever it is. We see like the electric bike take off kind of off in the distance. It hits an electric field, and the bike just stops immediately and flips the guy off of it, which Angel says like that guy's dead. But then the guy starts screaming, so because of that, OJ goes to check on the bike guy. Antlers needs to reload film, which is like a whole process that Angel needs to like go into this little tent for the film, so it keeps it like it doesn't get exposed and all that stuff. OJ's gonna go grab the guy, but the guy like wants to get the shot, so he's like not letting him pick him up. Then OJ sees Jean Jacket and the reflective helmet, and then OJ has to leave as Jean Jacket like eats the guy, sucks him up, and the tornado and eats him. Well, I guess he's screaming for a little bit after this, so he's alive for a little bit longer. OJ keeps his eyes down as Jean Jacket goes by with the screaming biker. OJ puts his hood up and it has reflectors on it, which I'm not exactly sure what that is.
Yeah.
Does that scare away like Jean Jacket or something like that? I can't remember.
I'm not sure if that was supposed to confuse it or something. I wasn't sure.
Okay. Because I didn't know if there'd be something like, well, wouldn't reflectors in the back of his head kind of come off as eyes? So maybe he's meant to make it chase him.
That could be.
Okay. OJ pops a parachute with flag streamers, which scares off Jean Jacket, and this big thing where it like makes a roll and starts like grinding into the ground. OJ jumps to the horse into the small barn again. Antlers wants to push things farther, and he gets and get the perfect shot of Jean Jot. So Antlers grabs like a one-man camera. Well, it's a more portable camera, and he sets off on his own to get the shot. Angel takes over the big crank camera. Jean Jacket comes for Antlers, and he films himself as he's being abducted and killed. So, no idea if we get that film. No. Jean Jacket starts going for Angel, but like Angel gets wrapped up on a tarp and he leaves him alone. Jean Jacket goes for Emerald and like sucks up the roof on the barn, which like hasn't done before. It's like, oh, it can do that. She gets like lifted up off the ground, but just kind of like is thrown and takes a hard fall, so she doesn't get eaten. Then Jean Jacket starts sucking up Angel again, but he's like stuck in a barbed wire fence, so like it lets go of that. And then Jean Jacket just like starts morphing into some other shape. So this is where it stops being the flying saucer and becomes like a giant like plastic squid thing. Yeah, jellyfish. Yeah. OJ's revealed to have a limp from jumping off the horse. He tells Emerald to get the bike and get out of there, the electric bike from the TMZ guy. Lucky shows up back in front of OJ. Emerald's like trying to start the bike, but the anti-electric field is affecting it. Jean Jacket has like this weird square orifice on its face now, or what could be its face, yeah, whatever. It is a very large alien-looking balloon. So yeah, it's like increased in like, I don't know, like 100 times its size or something like that. It's like, OJ's looking at Jean Jacket directly to draw its attention. He gives Emerald the like ICU gesture, which it was like a flashback when he was a kid, like with his dad trying to train Jean Jacket. So that was a thing that they remember, and she gives the gesture back. Emerald gets power back on the bike and heads off to Jupiter's claim. She drives towards the well with the camera in it, and she does the Akira slide, under the camera in front of it thing. So yeah, that's where I think I talked about it before, but like there was mention of Jordan Peele directing a live version of Akira, and so here he put the Akira slide in this movie. So it's just a fun little thing. She notices the inflatable jupe float and releases it to try and track Jean Jacket. And then she starts loading quarters into the camera well so she can have like another way to get a shot. Jean Jacket goes after the float. It's able to they tension this out a really long time, but eventually goes to grab it. She gets the shot. Jean Jacket eats the float and like kind of returns to saucer form. And then when it squeezes a float, the float and Jean Jacket pop at the same time, killing Jean Jacket presumably. So.
Yeah.
Which is like I guess that's fitting because it's like, like Jean Jacket was supposed to be her horse, and basically she tames it at the end of the movie. But like, it's like, OJ's the more capable person, and like Emerald a lot of times is just kind of annoying in the way, but just kind of like, but is a force that like is why they're doing this in the first place is because of her, but she doesn't necessarily like get to do a lot of actions, a lot of just running away and saying fuck this, we're getting out of here. So now she gets to be the hero of the movie. Cops are showing up on the scene. Emerald like breathes some relief, and then we see like OJ is revealed from the smoke in the clearing with Lucky on the horse Lucky, which like I said, I read a quick blurb and I didn't consider that this was like an illusion or he was dead or something like that, so I just assumed he got away. but that would keep with your saying of every time there's a title the horse dies, so
yeah,
or the animal. But
well, the director who wrote the screenplay or wrote the story said no, it actually was Lucky, so I guess that's because he was lucky.
Okay. Well, it was Lucky and OJ. Yeah, okay. And then we got to a picture of the shot of Jean Jacket, so they get the Jean Jacket. Then we get triumphant Western music plays, and then we cut to credits with like an orange card behind it. Nathan, does that have any deep meaning?
I didn't find anything about that. I wondered myself.
Okay.
It's strange. You could tie it with other credits he's done.
Okay, yeah, maybe. All right. Yeah.
Because I thought of me as like, is this like Clockwork Orange credits? What is
Yeah,
this?
yeah, I thought of that too. I wasn't sure. I mean, it's another brilliant film by Jordan Peele that I would put up there with like a Kubrick like movie. So,
Oh yeah, definitely.
um, but yeah, this is a brilliant film. Um, go watch it if you haven't. So,
Yeah,
it's a
check it out. It's available everywhere.
it's a horror movie that's not really that violent. It's just more in your what it does to your mind that makes the violence. Like you bring the violence to this movie. So, um, it's like I mean, probably actually the most scary stuff is like when like the figures are popping out and you're like those are aliens, these are weird, and then you find out that's not the thing, and then you're kind of like released from jump scares from the rest of the movie. Then it's all about like kind of weirdness and execution and cleverness. So.
Yeah, yeah. There's all kinds of things going on in this movie.
But did you have more study you want to reveal that you did background on this movie?
Well, it's just based on like the opening Bible quote. It seems to be like this is like an anti-Hollywood movie. It's about the
Okay.
spectacle will destroy you and consume you, and your lust for yeah, because that book of Nahum says all kinds of weird stuff. It's like God is rebuking the Assyrians for their heathen ways. I will lift your skirts and show them your nudity and reveal yourself to you'll be revealed as a whore and all this. It's a yeah, the whole book's weird. It says weird stuff like that. But yeah, that's the quote. You'll be covered with filth, and but it's about making yourself like a standing out from the crowd and seeking fame and fortune. It's like yeah, it has a price, and this is the price you pay. That's the subtext, and then it's a weird thing. It's like, was this an alien? Is this like part of Earth's natural
Yeah,
environment?
just survived this long or
Yeah,
something.
we don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems to be more of a parable about seeking fame and fortune and how it can consume you, literally sometimes,
Yeah.
figuratively mostly. Yeah,
But yeah, I was definitely glad I went to the movie theater to see this. So it's a fantastic movie.
yeah,
Well, we're sitting in Probe Space containing the supercut of scenes from the imperfect collection that is the Verhoeven Effect. Nathan, what one scene from Nope are we shoving into space?
this is one of your favorite. Why don't you tell me this time? What
Oh,
you
fuck.
have?
What would be the one
This,
scene?
this movie to pick. It's like, what's the most impactful scene in this movie?
Well, in some ways, it'd be like the opening stuff falling from the sky.
Yeah,
But, man.
see, it's really hard with this movie.
Or like the first ghost encounter, I think, is like, because that's where it's first revealed and it's like so mysterious. Like, I think it would be that one. Because it's
Yeah,
still like, it doesn't explain everything, but it's like, it's all the mystery at the edges that's revealed there. Um, so that's probably the one I put. Because I'm trying to think of
yeah,
all the other Jean Jacket encounters. There's like that, and then there's the Jupiter's one where he sucks everybody up, but I don't think. I don't know. And then they're like, yeah, then when they're at the end, yeah, I keep it the one. I keep it when the ghost one, the
okay.
ghost title.
Yeah, that would probably make the most sense. It's really hard with this movie because like the inspirations for this movie were Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Jaws,
Yeah,
Signs, and I forget there was another movie he named, but it's like yeah, those are all like misdirects.
yeah.
Those movies like you don't know what's going on or why it's going on, uh, and so yeah, it's tough with this movie to encapsulate it in one scene because it's it's viewed as a whole. So
Um,
it's an insanely good movie
yeah,
from a director who's consistently hit home runs,
yeah.
who kind of has a quirky view of it.
um, yeah, a comedian who makes like serious horror movies that
Yeah,
are like that like have far-reaching.
Yeah, there's so many dimensions and levels to this stuff. And so sometimes when people set out to do that, they just disappear up their own ass.
Yeah.
But this guy hasn't done it yet. Not really. He's made some things that are dense. He's made some, like Us is it's strange.
Yeah.
But it doesn't like defeat its own premise, though. It's just it just gets crazier and crazier as it goes. It's like, what's the explanation for this? It's like the explanation is metaphor. Like, oh, all right.
Username VH. You can find us on Letterboxd. Username VHE. 1 out of 5 stars. What do we give this movie, Nathan?
Oh, easily 5.
Okay. Done a lot of 5-star movies lately. Well, except for.
I don't really talk about movies we hate.
I mean, sometimes that would be a test of the podcast because generally we try to be positive about movies here, but
yeah,
try to find.
Yeah, but Tenet was like probably the most beautiful, cool movie that like you just couldn't give it high marks because it was frustratingly dense, and it's like okay,
and
it's not accessible to people that like complex movies.
It was openly like asking you to hate the movie.
Yeah,
I'm the protagonist. Go fuck yourself.
It had a challenge in the movie, like if you don't like this, you're dumb. It's like, well, no, I don't think it's being dumb.
Well, you can find us at verhoeveneffect.com. There we have listener support. You can support us on a monthly stipend at 99 cents, $4.99, or $9.99. You can rate our podcast there. Or you can rate our podcast on whatever platform of your choice. You can rate us whatever you want, but the only thing the algorithm listens to is the highest rating. So remember, give us the highest rating so we can, buck the system and change things from the inside or whatever. So.
Defeat artificial intelligence before it enslaves
us. And gather groups of people to make those, to get those high... those highest ratings in at the same time, and that'll trick the system. So, yeah, I've seen people they just like create they gather a following on one podcast and then create a new podcast, and then when that following comes and gives them all the high ratings, they're suddenly like at the top of the charts just by creating a new podcast.
Interesting.
But I guess if you're good at this stuff or famous, which isn't necessarily the same thing, you can do that. So,
I mean, some people bought Bitcoin and some people didn't. Nobody understands it either way, but some people made a lot of money and some people chose not to.
You can find us at Twitter at Verhoeven Effect. You can find us at Blue Sky Social at Verhoeven Effect. You can find us on Facebook at Verhoeven Effect, and you can find us on YouTube, where you can watch both. You can find us on YouTube at American Greed Factory and watch both this and that show live and unedited, which we did a show Wednesday. So that one's up there, and then I'll have the podcast up later as plays. So for the Verhoeven Effect podcast, I'm Conlon.
And I'm Nathan.
Goodbye, America.